Hello, my name's Jackie and welcome back to my channel, and it is now week 5 of Nanowrimo. So you might be asking yourself, it's November 30th. Why didn't you just include today in week 4? Why start a brand new week 5 vlog when there's only one day left of the month? Now, if you didn't see my last Nanowrimo vlog, the reason for that is because even though I hit my 50,000 words a couple of days ago, I am not at the end of the first draft of my project. I think I have about another 30, maybe 35,000 words to go. So I thought, why not keep the weekly vlogs going while I'm doing this project? The way I'm approaching this is if I'm still doing Nanowrimo. So my daily word count target is 1,667 words, which means that if I check my trusty spreadsheet, if I do that every day, I should hit my 80,000 words on the 18th of December. Having said that, like Nanowrimo, I'm not planning to write every day. I am planning to continue taking Fridays off, so that brings the total up to about 2,000 words per day. I also have a week in December when I'm just assuming I won't do any writing. So I'm actually having some surgery on the 13th, which is nothing serious and nothing to worry about, but I'm basically assuming that the week after that I'm probably not going to be very productive in terms of writing. So if I remove that week, then that means I'll hit my 80,000 words on Christmas. On the 25th, I should hit 80,016 words. Now, one of the downsides of doing this outside of Nanowrimo is that you do lose the Nanowrimo website. You cannot keep updating your daily word count once the month is over. So, as I mentioned, I've created a spreadsheet for this. So in the first tab, I'm recording all of the numbers. So I have the target words, which is 1,667 words a day. I've got my actual words, which is what I've written each day. Then from now, I'm actually going to start tracking the time of day I write, the time I spend writing, and my words per minute, just because I think that'll be helpful for finding out when I'm most productive. And if I take notes, I can also see whether I used any special tools that day, whether I'd outlined the scene before I wrote, whether I was doing a live writing sprint on YouTube. So I think it'll just be interesting to track which factors make me more productive in my writing. And then at the end, we've got the target total. So that's based on the 1,667 words. And then my actual total, which is adding up the words I've actually written. So if we scroll down to the 30th, which is today, this morning I did 1,855 words between 8 and 10. I was doing a live writing, well, no longer live, it was recorded yesterday, but I was doing a writing sprint session with Kate Kavanagh on her channel. So there was 60 minutes of writing in there, averaged almost 31 words per minute. And if I was doing the 1,667 words a day, as per Nanowrimo's guidelines, I would have been on 50,010 words today. However, based on what I've been writing, I'm now at 52,433 words. And if I go to the next tab, I've done a whole lot of pretty charts. So the first chart is my total word count. The purple line is what my total will be if I do the 1,667 words a day. And this flat area here is that week I'm planning to take off. The green line is where I actually am. The next chart is my daily words. So the blue is the 1,667 and the actual words is what I actually did for the day. So what you'll see here is that every few days, basically every Friday, there's a yellow line missing. That's because that's my day off. But you can see there are a few days that are lower than the recommended target, but most of them are a bit higher. So I do make up those words on the days that I write. And then the final one, which just started today because I couldn't find my writing times that I'd submitted on the Nanowrimo website. So from today, I'm also going to be doing my time spent and words per minute. So let's call that writing efficiency. So today, I spent 60 minutes and we're looking at just about 31 words a minute. So I think this month's going to be really interesting for a few reasons. One is to see if my motivation stays up, even though there isn't the structure and community of Nanowrimo to keep things going. The second reason is because I am going to be tracking a couple of different things, so it'll be interesting to see how my writing efficiency changes depending on the time of day I'm writing, the tools I'm using, and so on. And the third reason it'll be interesting is just because I'm going to get to the end of this first draft, which is really exciting. Other than that, we're still in Italy, maybe doing a day trip today. I'm looking over at my husband who's still in his underwear and sleeping t-shirt and is not ready to go yet. So we'll see what happens. In any case, I have already done my writing for today, so it means a bit more time to relax. It is the 1st of December and Drew and I are on our way back home to Estonia. So actually on the plane at the moment I was doing, the plane is turning. I have no idea what this is going to look like on the video. On the plane at the moment I am filming another video at the moment on my lessons I learned from Nanowrimo, and when I saw the footage I'm like, the lighting is really nice on the plane, so why not do today's update as well? I've done about 1,000 words today, I think, maybe around the 800, 900 word mark, and I'm at the point where I really don't have anything left that I plotted out from last month, so I know that there needs to be a big climax, which is going to be a big battle, and obviously I know how it's going to end, who's going to... In fact, I don't even know who's going to live and die, but I know who's going to win and who's going to lose. But that's it, so I think I need to spend some time choreographing that almost, because we've got, 4 superheroes, plus the main character, plus her dad, plus at least probably 4 people from the mob who are going to be involved, so there are quite a few moving parts. I'm also not sure which setting to do it in, because so at the moment, the main character is locked up in a secret room underneath her father's house. I don't know if his mansion is the most interesting setting for a final battle, so at the moment it's just logistics, because at the moment we're in the dark night of the soul bit, where she's trapped and feels like there's no hope, and he's probably going to harvest her for stem cells or organs. And then after she breaks free or gets help, or after her friends help break her free, then we're going to go into the final battle. So there aren't actually that many scenes. In fact, when I realised this morning, I thought maybe there aren't another 30,000 words to go. Maybe there are another 10,000 words to go. But I have no idea what's going to go in those words. So we're on the plane now. Then we have a 4-hour layover in Frankfurt. So I think I'm going to spend that time just plotting things rather than trying to get my 1,667 words for the day. The good news is, though, that I'm about 2,000 or 3,000 ahead of where I should be, because I was ahead when I finished Nanowrimo, so it means if I don't do more writing today, it's okay, and I think my time would be then spent doing the plotting and outlining work. I think I might have entered my first slump. It is now Wednesday evening after work. I haven't written anything since Sunday, so it's been 2 days, which is the longest I haven't written for since I started Nanowrimo, which might not seem like that much, but I'm really annoyed by it. So, and it also means because last Friday I had my Friday off, so in the last week I basically haven't written for half of it, which is not what I wanted to do with Nanowrimo. But I've been really struggling the past couple of days, so yeah, Saturday went well. I mean, this is all part of the weekly vlog, so you would have just seen this footage, but it feels a long time ago for me. So Saturday went well. Sunday was okay, and I knew I was getting into a bit of trouble with the area I was up to, but you know, I still got enough words to stay on track and I wasn't too worried. Then Monday was the day I don't go to the gym, so I took a notepad to where I went for lunch and tried outlining. I didn't even get a whole page of outlining done when I tried to plan the coming section. So what's not working? Well, there are a few possible things. One is that it's the Nanowrimo hangover, which is something I've heard about. Obviously, this was my first Nano, so maybe. But I don't know, part of me says maybe it is, maybe it isn't. The maybe it isn't part of me is saying, well, an average of, 1,667 words a day isn't actually that many words. So, and I write more than that on a daily basis anyway with my job. So I don't feel like that level of writing would cause a hangover for me. However, it is different writing and there's a lot of creative thought that went into it, so maybe. The second option is that I'm just tired. Drew and I got back from Italy after midnight on Sunday, which is way past my bedtime. And since we got back, my sleep's been really weird actually. Like, I've been getting to sleep really quickly, but I've been waking up at 3:34 and then haven't really gotten back to sleep again. So by the time it gets to the evening after work, which is when I write, I've been really tired. I also had some last minute freelancing stuff come up this week, so it's not creative stuff, it's just proofreading, but it's still taking mental energy. And then the most likely culprit is that I have gotten to the stage of my planning where I don't really have anything left. So if I show you my board that I did in October and updated before I went to Italy, you will see that the first half of it is very full, and that half of the book has a lot in it. And where I am now, how do I explain this? So I was worried about the second half of the book in general because I knew there wasn't as much there. I think I've only got the last 25% left now, simply because so if we go back to the board, this part 3 doesn't have as many scenes. In fact, I'm up to here. So not even all the way through, but based on the word count and based on how long like this took, this card and this card ended up being quite a lengthy sequence of scenes. So, and in fact there's one in here, I need to add a new post-it because I added one in that isn't in here. But anyway, that sequence of scenes ended up being quite lengthy, so that might be enough for part 3, especially once I go back and revise it. So that means I'm at this end of part 3, beginning of part 4. Now what I have left is I need the Dark Night of the Soul, All is Lost moment. So that's the moment before the final battle, the climax, when the protagonist feels like all is lost. It's self-explanatory. So I have the all is lost moment, I have the climax, and then it all needs to resolve. So when I was doing the planning for this, for the all is lost moment, I planned that Hannah would get captured by her family. For the climax, it was going to be a big epic battle scene, and resolution, not entirely sure, but I thought when I got there I'd figure it out. In fact, I'm not even too worried about getting that final scene. I'm actually comfortable with leaving that and then going back and revising the whole thing and writing it after I've revised everything, because I don't know, then everything will be a bit fresher. I'll have a much newer take on all of the loose ends that need to be tied up and can probably do a better resolution at that point. But the all is lost moment and epic battle are leaving me a bit stumped. So the all is lost moment, originally she was going to be recaptured by her family, and now that I've written the first 75-ish% of the book, I don't think that's dark enough, just because she's actually already been captured in this book. She's been captured and tortured, and there have been darker moments. I need to find a way to make this even darker. I'm pretty sure I know what needs to go wrong in order for that to happen. I'm just not sure how to make that happen when she's locked up. So it's a logistical nightmare. And then when we get to the epic battle, so for all of my, I apologize to future viewers who are watching this in a couple of days' time. I know this is not very articulate, but I think it's an accurate representation of my mental state. So the epic battle, in both story, engineering, and Save the Cat, they talk about the climactic scene, and I knew that this is a superhero book, there's going to be a battle, and in that planning all I wrote was epic battle. And now I'm at the point where I need to write it, and I need to figure out where it's going to be. I don't have a setting for this. I need to figure out, I know who's going to be involved actually, like I've got her 4 siblings. I've got Hannah, and I've got basically 8 people, plus the father is somewhere. So 9 people. So I know who's going to be involved. I don't know where it is. I need to... maybe I should just start writing it and see what happens, but I need to think about how the fight's going to go, because it's between 4 people who have superpowers and 4 people who don't. So you've got 4 people with knives and guns and 4 people who can project their pain and have super strength and can dissolve things with their hands. And so, yeah, it's just another logistical nightmare. So on one hand, I've got these people with guns who can fire at a distance, and when it comes to the supers, only one of them really has good distance power. The other 2 of them need to touch something or someone in order to hurt them, and the other one, I think she can do small distances, like maybe a couple of meters. So that creates... I'm a mess. I'm a mess. So I'm actually not too worried about the battle scene. I'm worried in the sense that it needs thought, and I do need to figure out how it'll all go, but that's not a stress-inducing problem. That's a puzzle I need to solve problem. In fact, everything's a puzzle I need to solve problem. I'm just not sure how to move forward given the number of puzzles I need to solve, because now I'm at this part of the book, I'm realizing I always knew I wrote the draft so far in a month. I always knew I'd need to go back and tidy things up and add in things. But now it's getting to the stage where I don't know if I can write it without knowing the things I need to add in. So the sequence of scenes we've just passed is where they break into her father's home to steal his research. They do it because I'm God in this world and I told them to, and I wrote that they did it, but there's actually, the motivations behind it aren't clear, nor is the sense of urgency. They do it with a few days of planning, and there's no clear reason why they have to do it that quickly. So that's something I need to put in there. When it comes to the epic final battle scene, yes, her father and the mob don't like each other, but what triggers this battle now? And I don't think it can be just, we're going to rescue Hannah who was locked up, because it's not big enough, not given the scale of other things that have been covered in the book. So motivations are missing, and the reasons for the time constraints are missing. I know there should be time constraints because I want to keep things moving. I just need to figure out why there are the constraints. And it's all very messy at the moment. So I'm actually not sure how to tackle this, because 2 days ago, I might have said this in Sunday's video, but on Sunday when I realized I only really had these 3 bits left to do, the all is lost, climax, and resolution, I thought maybe I'll actually finish by next week, by my surgery next week. I didn't expect I'd have 2 days where I wouldn't write anything, which would give me literally 8 days until I need to take a week off from writing. So that's probably not going to happen. Yeah, I just don't know how to tackle this. On one hand, I want to just try writing because it has been 2 days and I'm not contributing to my word count, and I'm at the point where I've actually fallen behind again. Like if we work with 1,667 days from the 1st of November until I finish the book, I'm about a day behind now. So I don't know whether I'll get further if I just do some brainstorming, or whether I should just try writing a scene, or even going back and redoing the last scene. It has now been 2.5 hours. I can't believe it's been 2.5 hours, because I have made some progress, but it's not nearly enough for that amount of time. Having said that though, my husband did come home and he was very distracting this evening. Usually, I need to be careful about what I say because he watches these videos, but usually Drew's really good when he gets home and sees that I'm writing, and he sort of says hello but makes himself scarce, whereas today he was sort of just in my space and distracting. So I can probably take an hour off that time. So let's say an hour and a half I spent working on it. I did my brainstorming, and something really good came out of that actually. I came up with an interesting motivation for why the mob is suddenly going after Hannah's father now, and it's that there are so many things in this book now, but now he's getting into weapons dealing, because why not? It is linked though. He's created a weapon that incorporates superhuman DNA, so it does work with the book. The challenge is that I already have the heist scene, and now I've got to put the motivation earlier in the book. So there was already a scene where I thought I could replace it with this. There's a scene earlier in the book where he was doing a press conference and Hannah and some of the major mob people saw him on TV. And the conference was originally about a different subject, which was supposed to be an area of conflict for the mob and her family, but it's not actually that relevant to the plot. So this is something that could drive the plot. So I ended up rewriting part of that scene, so the press conference bit, which for the words is telling me was 1,348 words. So that means it's better than the last 2 days. I did make some progress, but I'm still really far behind. Like if I update my spreadsheet, so 1348, 6 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. and we'll say, I'm just trying to think, do I include my brainstorming time in there as well, or is it just the actual writing time? I think I'm going to estimate 60 minutes of actual writing time. So that brings my current word count to 54,911 words, should be at 56,678 words. So in terms of Nanowrimo targets, I'm about 1 day behind, which is really frustrating because on Sunday I was, 2,000 words ahead, but oh well. So I have my words, I've added that motivation in earlier. There is something that's a little bit challenging about it though, because this gets announced. He's planning to have an auction and give these weapons to the highest bidder on a certain date, so that creates the time pressure. The problem is that there's this announcement and there should be urgency, but then we can't do anything about it because there are these other scenes that I've written that need to happen first, and they do need to happen. Do they need to happen? If they don't need to happen, I'm screwed, because then I'm going to lose like 10,000 words. Now I need to pull everything apart. I know that some of them need to happen, so I think I'm just going to, so I have that information in earlier, I'm going to leave the existing scenes as they are, and then go back later when I'm revising. But the challenging thing is that you have this announcement where they're basically given a mission, we need to stop this guy, and then there are going to be, 1, 2, 3, sort of 3 scenes before they start planning the heist to get his research, or the weapons now, I guess. So I need to see how that can work. But in any case, now there is a reason for the time limit, which is good. It is more compelling than what was there originally, which is good. I still haven't gotten onto what comes next, so I still got to figure out exactly what's happening with this Dark Night of the Soul and the final battle. But knowing this, knowing that the time limit for stopping him is the auction, maybe the auction could be in a really interesting place and they could confront him there on the way to there. So it was good thinking of this because it has created some thinking points for what's going to come next. I also, in my brainstorming, there are a couple of earlier scenes which I want to revise slightly. So one of them is just adding a little bit more of world dynamics in there and demonstrating how supers are discriminated against, and I think it's going to make the stakes feel higher for this new change. And then the next scene is the "it's a trap" scene where they realise he knew they were at the heist all along. Now that scene I need to revisit because earlier today I thought about something new I could introduce into the story. And I don't know whether it gets revealed there or whether it gets revealed in the Dark Knight moment. And this is where I need to start playing around to go, where is it going to have the most impact? But yeah, I feel I'm definitely further along than I was a couple of hours ago, but it's still a bit of a mess. When it comes to what I'm going to work on next, the good news is that I do have a couple of scenes to revisit now, so that could potentially be what I work on tomorrow. I don't think that's going to help me get back on track with my words though, so I am probably going to need to catch up on Friday and the weekend. Because even thinking about the amount of time I have tomorrow, like I've got a physio appointment before work, and then the gym at lunchtime, then after work I have a singing lesson, so I'm going to be lucky to have 30 minutes between work and the singing lesson to do any writing at all. So yeah, a weekend of catching up. The good thing though is that once I map out these, it's really just 2 scenes that I have coming up and then the resolution at the end. Once I map out these 2 scenes, the epic battle in particular is going to be a fairly long one, I think, much like the whole heist sequence I was doing. So once I know what's going to happen, that will probably take me through the next week of writing. Anyway, summary is things are still messy, and the task for me at the moment is to figure out how much I need to clean up now versus how much I can just push through and clean up later once I've got to the end of the first draft. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. It is Thursday. Today has been a roller coaster. So I woke up this morning and thought there was no way I was going to write today. I had nothing left, and I just realized that all of the changes I made yesterday and the ideas I came up with have just torn the story apart. So yesterday, as you know, I came up with this arms dealing angle, which would create a sense of urgency. There's an auction that they need to get to before her father sells these weapons. And the problem is that because of where I'd introduced it in the book, I felt like the midpoint revelations, which is when Hannah decides, okay, it's time to stop trying to get her father to accept her and she needs to fight him. Until that moment I felt would no longer be as powerful, because it's like, well, we already know he's not a great guy. We already know he's doing bad stuff. This is just more stuff on top of the bad stuff. So I woke up thinking, oh my God, I'm going to have to undo everything I did yesterday. And now I'm, not even 1 step forward and 2 steps back. It's like, it's the other way around, isn't it? And it's not 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. I was going backwards and backwards. So then when I was at work, a bit naughtily, I was thinking about the story and I just started mapping things out. And I thought, well, what if I move that revelation to later? So right before they start planning the heist. And then that addresses the issue I discovered yesterday, which is that they discover this, and there's urgency, but they can't deal with it straight away because there's this other stuff that has to happen because I wrote it there and it has to happen for other reasons. So there was this disconnect between the discovery of the big evil man selling weapons to who knows who and dealing with it, which didn't really work. So I realized I could move that revelation to later in the book, to right before they do the heist and plan the heist and everything, which makes much more sense. And the way I've thought of doing it actually still works for the initial revelations that I'd written that are going to make Hannah turn against her father. So mini breakthrough there. So once that was sorted, I then started thinking about the next bits. So the Dark Night of the Soul, All is Lost moment, and the final battle. I'm still a little bit stuck on the All is Lost moment, because what I want to have happen would make most sense if it happened during the final battle, but I don't know if you can have an All is Lost moment in the final battle or if they do need to be distinct scenes. So we'll see. So a little bit stuck on the original getting captured and how that's going to work. So I started getting into the final battle scene, and that's starting to come together. So I didn't write it, I was just outlining it. But I have my basically step-by-step what's going to happen for maybe 50% of the scenes. So I've got the lead up, getting to the location, initial battle, break where fighting happens, but I haven't done the choreography and I'm not exactly sure who's paired with whom and how much damage they're going to do to each other. At the moment, I potentially have one girl's foot getting shot and another girl's hand getting severed, which I don't know if I want them living with that beyond the book, so I might need to rethink that. But so I have my beginning of the fight, I have fighting, who knows what will happen. I have the climactic moment, which is also like the climax within the climax, which is when the dark moment's going to happen. It's also going to be when Hannah has her breakthrough regarding the whole she has this superhuman gene but doesn't have powers issue that's been the issue for the whole book. Yeah, and then I've got to figure out how it ends. So I haven't written. I probably have a few hundred words in that brainstorming document though. I wonder if I can count that. So, but anyway, haven't written, but I have enough outlining that I think that's going to get me back into the pattern. Now, unfortunately, tonight, writing is not going to happen. I just got home from work. I'm about to head out again for my singing lesson, and given how I feel right now, I know I'm probably not going to write when I get home. So that means falling yet another day behind. But now I'm falling behind with optimism. I feel like I've got enough that I can use to catch up on Friday and the weekend. And I feel like, although there are issues with what I've written so far, it's not fundamentally flawed. There are issues that can be solved by going back and adding in, a few breadcrumbs, a little bit of foreshadowing. So now I'm off to singing, but the week in a nutshell is, ironically, the week after NaNoWriMo has been my most difficult week of NaNoWriMo. I may still potentially be in the slump. I still do have a lot of holes left in what I need to write, but at least now I have something to write, and I'm hoping that as I get back into it, that'll help me bridge the gaps that are still there. Anyway, I hope your project's going well. Let me know what happened. What happened with your NaNoWriMo? Did you win? Are you still working on your project? Do you have a finished draft? And what are your next steps for it? And if you're done with your project, what are you going to be working on next? So let me know in the comments below, and as always, please remember to like and subscribe because it really helps, and I will see you next week with hopefully a more productive update.